Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Smith and Rowland podcast, today sponsored by Rowland.
Sponsored by, no, would have ever thought that.
Well, I talked to myself and I said, self, you need to sponsor a show.
That's exactly right.
If you're going to go after all these sponsors, then and you're going to bring all these sponsors in, you need to lead by example. And so today, it's Rowland.
Well,
you're getting the full money.
I'm just I can go a lot of different ways with that one, and we'll leave it alone. Mr. Rowland, we've been talking about a topic of Judeo-Christian ethics or Christianity, and there's podcasters out there today. For some reason, I heard Megyn Kelly say there today that she started thinking about this thing about the Jews, and she just finally decided, well, she didn't know why she favored the Jews. It's just what she's been taught her whole life. And now that she's sitting back looking at it, she's maybe having some different thoughts.
Well, God love her heart.
Yes,
I've got an answer. Just quit thinking.
That's the truth.
I heard a podcast today on that the younger generations was tired of foreign intervention into our affairs, which I agree with, by the way. But one of the things was they don't care who it is. Even Israel has no business in our affairs. And I would agree to that to a point. I would also say pretty much time quit being stupid with all. I mean,
you got to be careful that statement because Jesus is.
You know where it's going. That's exactly right. You know where it's going. Yeah. You know where it's coming from, and that's what we've been talking about.
Right.
I heard we've done this is our third podcast on the Judeo-Christian battle that's brewing, and that's brewing because what started prior to that was this theological discussion on replacement theology. That's been around since first century. That was the perversion of the church, I think. And
well, Jesus said there would be false prophets coming, false teachers,
and that's what that is.
Talking about.
That's false. That's exactly what it's talking about. At the very root, at the fundamental, I could almost say that from that replacement theology type mentality, whether it's expressed in, you know what I've noticed, Alan? People take words to cover up what they really mean. They'll flower up what they mean and make it prettier. So you have this thing called covenant theology. And all it is a nice term to say we believe the church has replaced Israel.
Yeah, but you and I believe in covenant.
Yeah, my point is, how can you call something covenant theology and be against the covenants? How does that make you covenant theology? The proper word would be anti-covenant theology.
Correct.
Because they are anti-covenants if you believe in replacement. So I listened to that podcast and on how the younger generation feels, and basically they feel entitled and they just can't understand for the life of them why we don't understand their entitlement.
Well,
and
the
that's
one representative that you had talked with perhaps too, though, doesn't represent all the young people on the face of the earth.
I hope not, because he sure did put a bad taste in my mouth for him. Oh, it's hard to teach somebody that don't want to be taught.
It's not, but it's hard to teach somebody that knows everything.
That's even harder. Yeah, that's even harder. That's even harder. But in talking about what we're talking about, I also heard Jordan Peterson today in a speech he gave over a year ago, lecture he gave over a year ago, where he said that the Judeo-Christian ethic in America has basically saved Western civilization from totalitarianism and Marxism, which is the only other place you can go to without the Judeo-Christian ethic in government. And that being said, makes you kind of understand why. Once again, that was very much a validation of what we talked about yesterday, that without the Judeo-Christian principle, communism's all that's left. That's all that's left. That's where you got to go to. And so to understand the Judeo-Christian values is under attack is kind of easy to understand the battle lines. Our conversation today was there's consequences to every action.
Right. And it tends to be, Jeff, that the left or the left-thinking type people do not consider consequences as much as the right. A conservative person, one reason they're conservative is because if you're not, it's because of the consequences that bad judgment has.
Yeah.
Whether it be money or whatever. So
in any aspect
of life, that wrong decisions equals consequences that you probably won't like. The left, or liberal, tends to say, well, I can think, I'm a free thinker, I can do anything that I want to, and tends to ignore any consequences, or doesn't believe there are any.
The reason I'm a conservative is because I've lived long enough now to suffer the consequences of my own decisions. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I know there are consequences that follow you the rest of your life. And if you don't understand that principle, the law of sowing and reaping, if you don't understand that principle, or if you don't agree with that principle, then it kind of goes a little bit, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm attempting to have a little bit of an unusual Bible study tonight that's going to go into this area to some degree on the fact that it's like we have given ourselves permission to be who we are not supposed to be.
Ooh. Well, that's a little twist on
it. And truthfully, the only way that you can come to that place is to ignore the consequences of it.
It's something here. It says destroying Judeo-Christian ethics. Moral decay, diminished individual responsibility. Over spiritual value, loss of cultural stability, conflict, water goes downhill.
Yeah.
So in other words, it goes to places. The liberal left usually does not consider true consequences. How does consequence?
I think what? But I do think we have a misunderstanding of the disciplinary. I do believe that. Experience, past, present, and future. That at new birth experience, our sin has consequences sown into those. Should be a good promise, but we keep putting bad seed in the ground, so we reap a bad harvest. It's that process that's sown in. There is this. It's a little problematic. The chast of a misguided understanding of the discipline. The way that happens is our sin. While on this sin-cursed earth. So, want to live life. Most people would. They don't actions. So you have where you miss says God's just waiting on you to sin. So, well, you can't pay. So you in the spirit world, when we sin, there's consequences. Car wreck, arm back. There's a consequence to, and not just the grace to endure it. It doesn't mean that grace won't be. Intent is do the teaching. To walking with God, you know.
So consequences have a bad. Reaping is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
When God created it. Turn against us, so to bad. It's up to what we're sowing and reaping. It does. And you know what, Jeff, in some cases it does. End up where you're headed, as the saying goes. And so therefore it has a consequence to journey. Which you're partaking in.
Without a doubt.
But then you kind of equal the harvest. If it's something bad, it's going to be a bad harvest, even though we've repented on the way. But chances of him, the consequences of his. So when it comes to the grace of God, here's where I think it comes from, Jeff. It comes to the grace of God. Sin. Because I have repented. So you and I are making a Can you bring any more definition?
I would argue that on the path of so aggressive actions themselves.
Wages of sin is death.
Yeah.
So you know where it's leading.
You know where active sin, not understanding that the sin has already happened in the heart of the man. For come to that progression. Once repentance continued, it would have led to consequence from the time your heart turned.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Alan. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a progression to get there. In your heart back here. It's affecting everything about you. It's affecting your soul, all of God, because you don't want to hear it. Because why? You're headed on a downward trajectory toward this action. Is that if it goes to its fullest, it's going to end in death. Mm-hmm. A relationship's going to die. Verse it from finishing, but whatever consequences have taken that sin. On the same, in the same way, I could say your peace is getting more sustainable. All of these hardships are no longer as hard.
Mm-hmm.
They're founded. Mm-hmm. The blessings that we have now are the consequence of the corruption for us to be $34 trillion in debt. Us.
Mm-hmm.
What, you know, do not believe. You may over here and do it. Just
with you upset, and then 2 or 3. For some reason, that bad. That cannot. And so, therefore, that person has.
1,000 times.
It couldn't be a but comes up and slaps.
And further, and walk. Sin is not that, but you towards sin, you have, and when it cuts that person off,
consequence.
Yeah. They can only come where only supernatural. So that's
Bible. That's Bible.
It is Bible. I think it's following. I believe the place where we give our flesh man, and this is the way I am. Here's one. Here's a good one. And
law.
Yeah, the Word of God says keep your mouth shut.
That's exactly.
You know.
I'll
Just swallow it.
That's right.
That's
going on this day and time, and I'm not saying there's not, but there's a. You don't want me to be transparent.
No, because I don't even like me.
No, you don't want me to be.
And God will fulfill. But I think that's good Bible.
But you're going to have. You say.
Okay, let me explain that. Since we're going forward.
Okay, now you go.
They love me to death. That's a better way to say it.
This is transparency here.
Yeah.
They do.
Gift. But
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to do it.
But go on and think I'm too ignorant to know that.
I'd say to not know me is to love me.
Don't know me because I know I'll always be loved.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
now there's that.
I think more to the right you are, the more you identify with consequences of wrong. With consequences of wrong decisions.
Yeah.
Now that is.
It's in the theology. Mm-hmm. Conservative thinking, you will embrace the consequences. That's
right.
That's,
but yeah, if you do this conversion thing from male to never had done it. trying to sell the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say something here, Jeff. What I'm saying.
I so agree with that. I think no. Concern
Here. What they're doing. What does he mean by that? Hell is a consequence.
Yeah.
So people are trying to do the left. They try to do away with consequences,
Yeah.
and I think ultimately people are trying to do away with hell.
Without a doubt,
is my point.
Oh,
because that's the
so
ultimate,
true.
the
So
ultimate
true.
consequence.
Yes, eternal separation from the
right.
Father. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Okay, Alan Smith, can I say that we have just started on the consequences of the destruction of Judeo-Christianity?
We have just
and we need to start. We need to keep on.
This is part 3 of this series, and there'll probably be a couple more parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Rowland.
Okay,
See you Monday.
See you.